che è l'assessore contingente dice quei cose della strategia.
Scorsa che c'era Paola Testori Coggi, sì. Nevicava, era in febbraio e c'era lo stesso 150 persone.
Detto la cosa, il capo dell'unità internazionale. Tomorrow the summer is over, so enjoy today.
The last 10 years. So I have a pretty clear idea about the weather.
Senti, un bacio forte, amici. A domani. Ciao ciao.
Yes.
Ammesso che insomma sono io.
After the winter. That's actually our intention. We don't have the ideas right now.
E poi, ma questo dipende anche dai dossier che abbiamo sul tavolo, e c'ho già pure la metodologia. Io più
And he was trying in the note.
quindi uno emissione da Roma e due different
For me to welcome you at this second edition of CaffExpò here in Bruxelles. Today I would like to start thanking our two keynote speakers, Ambassador Nelly Ferrocci and Director Wilkinson, David Wilkinson, that are here today to talk about what EU can bring to Expo 2015 and what Expo 2015 in Milan can bring to Europe. But before starting, I would ask Claudio Sorlini. Claudio Sorlini is the chair of the scientific committee for Expo 2015 in Milan, to very briefly present the main topics and the main themes of Expo 2015.
It is a great pleasure for me to be here to meet you. Preparation of the food for better lifestyle, and for sport and food in the world, the culture and ethnic groups. And I think that there is a lot of topic involved in this Expo 2000. This is the book published by the corporation, Expo Corporation, with the guidelines and recommendation for the countries who will participate to the Expo 2015. This is a cover of the most important document. It is the strategic document produced by the government of Lombardy region, and this document has been submitted to a lot of authorities in the world and also shared. Prego. Okay, this is the scientific committee of the Expo 2015, named by the mayor of Milano, and it represents all the University of Milano. And we are working in order to develop the cluster in the side of Expo. The clusters are some aggregation of small pavilions donated by the major, by the Expo Society, by the Expo Corporation, to the countries, the developing countries. All the countries are so poor that could not buy the pavilion. This is the indication where we will have the clusters of rice, cocoa, coffee, cereal, and so on. I finished my short presentation, and I hope that also the European community will be involved in this big project, because I think that it is a very good opportunity, not only for Italy, but also for all the Europe to develop our content in agriculture and food. Thank you.
I have to apologize because I didn't present myself and mainly my university. My name is Piersandro Cocconcelli. I'm from Università Cattolica del Sacro Cuore, one of the 7 universities in Milan, which is actually involved in the scientific committee for Expo 2015. And my university has created a specific group which is named Expo Lab, which is working on the themes of Expo. Actually, we are following 3 different directions. The first one is something that is related between the culture and food, the relation between the culture and the food as a need, and not only for nutrition, but a relation between food, culture, and environments. The second project that we are developing for Expo 2015 is local cooperation and development, and actually this project meets the main challenges that we are facing for the food and the nutrition in the next years. And the third one is related to food safety. Actually, I'm a microbiologist, and these are bacteria that I'm studying. And this is Staphylococcus aureus, so pathogenic bacteria in food. And we are, I hope that it's not here inside, inside the food for la patinoire. So you have to trust me, the food here is extremely safe. And it's exactly what we are trying to do. So I'm very glad that we are here. And in the framework of our activities, we make science, we make meetings, but we try also to make some discussion and think tank like CaffExpò. And just to very briefly present CaffExpò, I leave the floor to Professor Capri. He's an ecotoxicologist from my university, and is the person behind CaffExpò.
Yeah, thank you very much, Piersandro. Just a few words on what does mean and what does fit CaffExpò. Of course, you can visit the website. I mean, as the name is saying, is Caffè plus Expo. So Expo is of course Expo 2015, and this means, and Caffè means scientific coffee. So I mean a scientific cafe. Could you please next? That is based on the ancient concept where people, they were meeting together in very informal side, like we are today, and where the dialogue concerning innovative aspects of the life and of course of the future are discussed in a way where all the people that can participate. So of course the main subject of this cafe are the ambitious subject of the Expo 2015, which is feeding the planet energy for the life. That you can understand that is a very ambitious subject. And we are organizing, starting from our university, itinerary cafe, where we invite people, different people, especially people from, not necessarily from academia, but people that are working at on this subject, and especially with their own body, with their own professionality. And usually our young generation and young people that they come and they meet these people in intriguing the dialogue. So this activity is working quite well. Actually, we're moving from Piacenza, which is the base of our university in Milano, another city in Italy, and we're moving to outside, like this event that we're doing in Brussels, but other are planned in other cities in Europe. And in this way, we think that, especially based on the material that then we left in the website, and everything is then reported also in the YouTube channel, we can of course tracking the discussion and the dialogue, and we can involve as many as possible stakeholders and citizens that not necessarily are stakeholders, but they are citizens, and of course they are the most important person that are the target of Expo 2015, and they will take part of this unbelievable and important event that will get, of course, place in Milano in more or less 2-3 years' time. Okay, thank you very much. I don't want to steal other time to this important event. Thanks.
First of all, thank you. Thank you, Professor Cocconcelli. Thank you, Professor Capri. Thanks to the University Sacro Cuore of Milan for organizing this event. Thanks to the office of the Regione Lombardia in Brussels, and to the office of the Expo 2015 in Brussels, and in particular to Antonio Cenini, who is at the very heart of this event, as well as of others that have taken place and that will follow on after this. As you have already seen from the previous presentation, this event is meant to animate, if I may say so, a discussion and exchange of views on the main content and purpose and finality of an event to which the Italian government attaches the utmost importance, which is the Universal World Exposition 2015. Let me, even though I risk being a bit repetitious after the presentation that have preceded my presentation, let me stress once more what we as Italian government see as the main feature of and the main objectives of this event, which it has already been mentioned, will focus around the theme of feeding the planet and energy for life. The main subjects, and when you will listen to this, you will see why we are discussing this in Brussels and why there is such an interest on behalf of the Italian authorities, government, Expo 2015, for a participation of the European Union. The series of subjects that are going to be at the center of the Universal Exposition are very much interlinked with fundamental competencies and responsibilities of the European Union and of the Commission. And I will start by listing food security and the fight against hunger, food safety and the education to an adequate use of appropriate food based on the basic principles of nutrition, hygiene and health. I would then list food sustainability and the need to ensure the respect of biodiversity and balanced land use, for instance by an appropriate mix between food and energy generation use of soils, and also through research and application of appropriate technology that are the product of research. And we expect a total of about 20 million visitors during the period between May and October 2015 in Milan, to which one should add the virtual visitors that would be able to participate and visit the exposition through the web. By the way, if I look at this event from a European perspective and also from a United Nations perspective, one cannot but underline the coincidence in the year 2015 with the target date of the Millenium Development Goals, but also of the midterm review of the EU 2020 strategy for growth and competitiveness. This means that under both respects the event in Milan could and will certainly usefully contribute to these two deadlines. And I'm particularly having in mind the European one, which is closer to my heart and to my preoccupations and my responsibilities. We desperately need ideas to foster growth and competitiveness, and I'm sure that under this point of view the exposition in Milan will certainly provide a useful contribution. If I may elaborate a bit again on the content of the exposition, I think that it's important to stress that it's not going to be only a commercial and cultural showroom for participating countries or international organizations, and also for private sector stakeholders, but we also aim at have a political dimension attached to this exposition. And the political dimension is the idea to offer this exposition as an opportunity for governments, institutions, but also ordinary citizens from all over the world to discuss and exchange views on policies that are actually essential for human mankind and are meant to have a global impact. And I will give you some examples later that are already in the strategic document which has been published and made available to stakeholders. Let me say one word to the strategic document, because I think it's important for all of you to know that this is a document which has been published some months ago. It's available on the web, can be downloaded, and it's an interactive sort of document. It's a document which is open for contribution. We are expecting contribution. The organizers are expecting contributions to enrich this document, so that at the end, when the document will reach the final stage of maturation, contributions also from the outside world will have been integrated into this strategic document. If I may, I would like to draw attention to some ideas which you will find in the strategic document, but are very important because they contain policy orientation. Some of the ideas that I would like to list out are the following. The first one is the idea to utilize the Milan exposition to draft or to define a code of conduct, code of ethics against food waste. This is a very delicate subject, probably unknown. The dimension of the food waste phenomenon is not sufficiently known. I think that there is a lot that can be done in Milan to expand knowledge of this phenomenon, and probably also some recipe to better utilize food which is going to be otherwise wasted. The other idea is to find ways and means to define a common platform or a common plan of action in a strategy towards anti-speculation policies on food, and particularly on prices of foodstuff, which is also a very delicate subject. We have seen in the past moment where this problem of sudden rise in the price of foodstuff have created a dramatic situation, in particular for the poorest population in the world. A fourth element is the idea to define or establish food education programs, and the last one is the idea to create instruments to address the question of undernourishment. In all this, as you probably easily understand, because I'm sure that most of you are familiar with European Union functioning and European Union competencies, definitely the European Union and the Commission can play an exceptionally relevant role, because most of these policy areas that I described to you belong to the competencies of the European Union. Sometimes they are exclusive competences, on other occasions they are competences that are shared with member states, but practically all the list of subjects that I provided you for tonight are part of the competences of the Union. This is why we have been very keen in working together with the Commission to ensure an adequate, substantial participation of the European Union, which we are rather confident will be confirmed very soon. This is particularly true when it comes to the contribution that I would define physical, in the sense that the Commission will be there, will be in Milan, but also contribution to the actual drafting of the program of work of the exhibition in Milan. There are a number of subjects where I am sure that the Commission will provide a very useful contribution for the definition of workshops, debates, subject to discuss together, and on which to develop new ideas and new, possibly also policy line of actions. I must say that we also hope that all the European Union institutions will be able and will need to participate. I'm having in mind in particular the European Parliament, but why not also the Economic and Social Committee could also be an active participant in this endeavor. Let me finally say one word on a commitment that as Italian government we have already undertaken and also announced, which is the idea to focus on the contribution of the European Union to the success of the exposition as an integral part of our program for the presidency of the Council of the European Union, the presidency that Italy will have in the second semester of 2014. I must confess that we have not yet been able and capable, for reasons that have to do both with the domestic situation in my country and also the evolving situation of the European agenda, to define priorities, except for this. So far, this is the first and only priority that we have set, decided, and it's firmly in the context of the program of the Italian presidency of the European Union for the second semester of 2014. So thank you again very much for the organizer, and best luck to the exposition. Thank you.
I feel extremely important to listen something from the European Union side. So thank you very much.
Let me first of all introduce myself. My name is David Wilkinson, and I work for the Joint Research Centre of the European Commission. And the Joint Research Centre, for those of you who don't know it, is the in-house science service of the in Milano at the participants meeting, and to report back to the Commission on how the Commission might take a role in the Expo event in 2015. And so what I'd like to do is just give you an idea of some of the conclusions that I drew in that visit, and maybe I can go on to the next slide. In fact, it's clear that the European Union is a global actor in the fields of safe, secure and sustainable food. And I think the Expo will give us a really unique opportunity first of all, to communicate the achievements and future goals of the European Union to the public at large, and I know that we're expecting something like 20 million visitors to the Expo and 1 billion people visiting online. Secondly, I think it will be a good opportunity to raise awareness and foster the commitment of European citizens to the area, to the issues associated with food. And then lastly, and I think very important actually, it will provide a platform for launching open and forward-looking exchanges of views with stakeholders, which will be crucial for the next steps in EU policy development in the food area. And what I'd like to do, I've got a bit of noise coming back on here. Can you still hear me if I hold it like that? Yes, okay. Let me just tell you what are the policies, the EU policies, where food is important, because there's more of them than you might imagine. Obviously, the first one, agriculture. And of course, the theme, feeding the planet, energy for life, focuses very clearly on the agricultural aspects. It's crucial to food security. And here, we're talking not only about inside the EU, but outside the EU as well, and the global issues. And in fact, the year of family farming, I'm very pleased to say that the Expo organisers have suggested a very good positioning for the EU presence. We would be opposite the Palazzo Italia, formerly part of the Italian pavilion, but with our own separate, clear, separate identity and building and so on. And indeed, that will put us in a pole position to get our message across. The EU will also contribute to the strategy document, which was mentioned by the ambassador. That's a living document. There's a current version, but it will be updated as we move forward towards the Expo, and we will play an important role in transmitting that message. Let me finish briefly. Collaboration is going to be crucial. No organisation today can succeed alone. At European level, the Commission will take the lead, but we will, of course, welcome participation from the European Parliament and other EU institutions to provide an overall EU institutions presence. And we'll be working also, of course, with the Member States, many of which are individually present, will be present at the Expo. At the international level, we've already had meetings with the FAO, and other parts of the UN. We'll also work with the OECD. And very interestingly, CERN, the nuclear research, the particle physics research organisation, have said they're going to be present at the Expo. I don't yet know what is the link between the Higgs boson and food, but I'll be very interested to find out, so we'll be working also with them. And then, last but by no means least, at the local level, with the Italian national government, Regione Lombardia, and of course the Comune of Milano, and here we've already got very good links, but we'll be strengthening those over the coming 2 years, and I'd like to see them go on strengthening, not just up to the Expo, but beyond as well. Where are we in the process? Well, in fact, right now, the Commission are debating. President Barroso met Mario Monti when he was still Prime Minister a little while ago, and has said that he's putting forward an idea to the College of Commissioners that we should participate. That's now being looked at by the College. I hope that we'll hear, even within the next week or 2 weeks, that a decision has been made to make a communication to Council and Parliament for EU participation in the Expo, and that will then be a formal launch, and we'll set the thing up on a solid basis. Beyond that, we'll then go on, of course, to sign the participation agreement with the Expo organisers, and then get on with the real work, which is starting the preparation of our participation, working with all stakeholders. So I think that then brings an end to my little intervention. I'm, with the Ambassador, very happy to try and answer any questions that you might have, but let me hand back to the Chairman. Thank you very much.
I would like to thank the two keynote speakers, because now we have, I think, a much clearer view of what we expect from Expo, what we expect from the Italian side, what we expect from the Union, and what are the big challenges that we have in front of us. 2015 will be a real critical year. Will be the end of the Millennium Development Goals. That is my personal opinion. We weren't able as a scientific community, as political community, to reach them. Actually, eradicate hunger, we didn't succeed in this part. So now we have some more years to do that. And it's the midterm report for the 2020 European policy for sustainable growth, so it's a really critical point. I'm sure that there is some question in the audience.
Includes environment, that includes food. There is a general consensus regarding interdisciplinarity, so this is a very good effort regarding interdisciplinarity. But we are still light years from integrated to interdisciplinarity, and please bear in mind that integration is the most complex challenge of today that can only be met by new capacity building. Thank you.
Of course, one can do better, and I think that for this very reason, the strategic document is meant to be an open document. If there are suggestions, if there are ideas on how to better integrate a notion that, of course, must be to a certain extent related to the notion of food in the various meaning of that term, I'm sure they will be most welcome. So I presume, speaking also on behalf of the organizer, we are more than welcome to listen, to receive suggestions on how to better integrate other notions that can usefully complement those that have already been.
Which is planned for 2014. It's a global event, and the EU will be a main sponsor in that context. Secondly, though, and this is really now picking up on the point that the Ambassador made, right now the key problem for Europe is growth, economic growth and jobs. In fact, I was a bit horrified. I saw in the press announcement earlier today that the unemployment rate in Spain has been announced for the first 3 months of this year at 27%. And I can tell you, if we don't reverse the decline in industry in Europe, we're heading into a big crisis. You know that better than me. The food industry is a big industry. People maybe don't think of it. You think of the car industry and so on. It has a turnover of €1 trillion per annum, and it employs 4 million people in Europe. And I think that really the question of how to bridge the gap between science and industry, how to improve our industrial competitiveness using our enormous competence in our science base, is one of the most important issues facing the EU today. And the food area is a crucial part of it. The whole bioeconomy issue is central to that discussion. Next, of course, the EU is in fact the largest donor in the world for development assistance to the third world. We have 55.1 billion euros in 2012 in aid budget, and as was already mentioned by the Ambassador, we're a major contributor to the EU, to the UN Milano with the planning for the Expo. Food waste was mentioned. I don't know whether you're all familiar with the fact that 40% of food is wasted today, food fit for human consumption, between the farm, transport, the supermarket, and then at home. the total wastage is 40%. It's higher than that for fruit and vegetables. And the EU, particularly our Directorate General Sanko, has a very strong policy on this, and we would like to aim to halve the figure by 2020. Now, whether that's possible, I don't know. But I think the Expo is a good opportunity to launch and get the message across to the public about the importance of this goal. In fact, we've already started work. We're involving all stakeholders, farmers, industry, retailers, consumer organisations in that. Next is nutrition and health. In fact, of course, as we've already talked a little bit about the Food Standards Agency, food safety standards in the European Union are a world model. They will be taken up by other parts of the world, which will be very important, by the way, for trade development. And the EU remains at the forefront of the debate of food quality, and it's important for healthy living. And in fact, giving out better information to the consumers, better education of people at all levels in society and all stages of education is crucial to the success of that. Next one. Research and innovation. I've already mentioned bridging the gap between science and industry. We do an enormous amount of research here in the EU, funded by the member states and of course funded by the EU itself. We'll be launching the Horizon 2020 programme. The bioeconomy is a key part of that with a very significant budget, showcasing the results from that and using the Expo as a method of transferring the ideas from science to industry and agriculture is a crucial opportunity. And in fact, we are very keen in the JRC to maintain a strong link with the Expo scientific programme. We've got an informal meeting tomorrow on that. Also, don't forget the Expo itself, the actual physical site, which will have 140,000 visitors daily, is itself a smart city. It's a technological achievement. And we can learn from that about real long-term cities, urban developments for Europe and outside. And then finally, let me just mention, of course, that one of the reasons why the JRC is involved in this process is because we have 60 kilometres away from the Expo site our own research centre at ISPRA, where food and various other things, health, environment, are very much on the agenda. And so we will be very keen to organise visits to ISPRA for all, well, not all, but for many scientific participants at the Expo event.
Sometimes I'm much more interested in some genes inside a microorganism than to a global view. But in these last 3 years, the work that has been made in Milan is just to create a network of different competencies. And I think that both the Expo Lab, the structure of my university, and the scientific board of Comune di Milano are just a think tank in which we merge the competencies from human sciences, hard sciences, social sciences, economics, and we try to discuss this to see the single problem from different point of view. From my experience, we need generally 6 months to have a common language. First meeting with my colleagues, we are all professors of the same university. We speak Italian, but generally we speak a different language. So we need some time to tune our language. But after that, there is really an exploding effect of mixing different competence together. I think this is one of the big challenges that we have also to face the problem of feeding the planet.
To our shame, there are still almost 1 billion people on the planet without enough to eat. We have a situation where in the area of water, we are using unsustainably water that's coming from aquifers. So at the moment we think we have enough, but in fact we're not we probably don't have enough. We have climate change coming, we have too much inequality in the world, and as you know, governance and systems of governance are a crucial element of our problem, and therefore I'd like to say I fully agree with your comment.
We can see on daily basis in Europe. You see scientific opinion based on years and years of research being challenged on daily basis. Do you think there is any chance that we can reverse this tendency and the society will believe more in scientists? That's the first question. And then, if I'm allowed, the second question, built on exactly what you were mentioning, 1 billion people still need to be fed. Do you think there is a chance that we focus in the future more on food security rather than let's leave it at that. That we focus more on food security at global level in the daily basis, the daily work of what we do.
Holding us back. This is holding back our development. If we want to know why there are so many people unemployed in the EU, it's partly because there's too much mistrust in science, and we are not taking the opportunities that other parts of the world are taking, the Americans obviously, but also in the East. They are getting on with things while we're holding back, and we won't be able to afford to take that stance indefinitely. Now, I think the Expo is a great opportunity, because I think if we can present some of the success stories of science better to the public, and how they can affect poverty, for example, and improve efficiency of production, reduce waste or whatever, then these are messages that people will go home with, and I think it's a great opportunity. So I think that's a very, very good point. In terms of poverty, sorry, just remind me what the final part of your... Yeah, food security. No, I mean, I think it's food security remains one of the top issues that humanity has to tackle, along with perhaps with climate change and one or two others. I think that you're right, that it's not high on the agenda in Europe because people don't have jobs. You know, if you haven't got a job, unemployment is 100%. That's a famous quote from a British Prime Minister some time ago. You know, so while unemployment is there, people find it difficult to focus on the wider thing. But again, I think the Expo is a good opportunity to remind people that we do not have equality in the world, and that this is something that they need to think about, and there are opportunities to do something about it, like, for example, maybe the reduction in food waste. So it is a good opportunity, and to get across some pretty important messages to the general public.
I believe that science and technology will both play very important roles in fighting world challenges in both food safety and food security. And in this context, I would like to know what you see science and technology, what role will they play in the Expo? Thank you.
Mr. Wilkinson, bridging the gaps. I think that Europe, in the last 10 years, really funded research. We have been, most of the scientists has been involved in European project, FP7, FP6. They've funded a lot of research on the food, but few of the huge body of knowledge that has been created has been passed to the industrial or agricultural application. So I think that Expo can be a situation in which we try to live with the head of a professor in a university, in which the main topic is to publish on a high-ranking journal, but to try to talk together to transfer. I think that technology transfer probably could be one of the key words for Expo 2015.
In the role of coordinating the participation of the Commission to the Expo, and I think there's a very good argument for that. First of all, the JRC has a balanced view across all the different policies which fit into this question of food. So we can look at the whole perspective of different things. We're coming from a scientific perspective, and therefore, and I think science is key to this whole business. So I personally think that the JRC is ideally placed. Of course, we will work very closely with DG Com, that's the communications part of the Commission, and all the policy DGs involved, including DG Agri, particularly DG Agri who are represented here tonight, but all the other DGs, so that we can project a single message from the whole Commission, indeed the whole European Union, which takes into account all the different points of view. And that's why I think that we're very well placed to carry out this role.
In the past, a lot of Expo, Universal expositions, some of them huge, some of them didn't succeed, but what can be the Italian way for Expo 2015?
To tell you something about my own experience, because I have been involved at the very beginning of the story of this exposition, in the sense that I have been involved in the campaign that the government at the time sustained to beat the competition, which at the time was the city of Smyrna in Turkey. We, at the time, there was a marvelous bipartisan support for the initiative, and eventually we succeeded. I think that key for the success is bipartisan support. Of course, there are other elements that concur in providing success for the initiative, and I'm sure that, for instance, the contribution of the scientific community, that you are, in a sense, stimulating, organizing, coordinating, certainly is an important factor. International participation is another factor of success, and I think that their government diplomacy can contribute to ensure a sufficiently adequate international participation, which is already the case, as the numbers show. And the choice of the subject, which I think is successful, is going to be successful. It's sufficiently wide to provide opportunity to go beyond the strict subject linked to agriculture, as the discussion of today has shown, and is also very much to the point, because it's the very center of the political debate these days. So I think that all the ingredients are there, and I'm sure that it's going to be a great success. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much again. I would like to thank Mr. Wilkinson, Ambassador, and each of you for being here and for joining this event. Thank you very much again.
Good.
Milano dovrebbe essere un po' sbroso.